West and the Midwest. Good afternoon to fans in the Mountain Time Zone and on the West Coast. Welcome to Detroit. Welcome to Ford Field and the step-off of the 2019 Drum Corps International Tour. I'm Dan Potter.
And I'm Jeff Griffith. Welcome to the DCI News Network and tonight's Tour Premiere pre-show presented by DeMoulin Bros and Company. Dan, it's so good to be back with you and have Drum Corps back in our lives. Full
Jeff,
summer ahead.
I've been doing this since 1979. I was a marching member back in 79. I've taught. I've been involved in the media efforts of Drum Corps International for the last couple of decades. I get the same feeling every year at the start of the summer. It's that pure excitement of wanting to see what the Corps are going to put on the field for us. We have more than 100 shows in 37 states over the next 2 months, culminating, of course, in the Drum Corps International World Championships in Indianapolis in August. That's what lies ahead of us. Let's talk for a moment about what's already happened here today at Ford Field in Detroit. It's been a very busy day. In fact, the 2016 DCI World Champions, the Bluecoats, were out on this field until just a moment ago rehearsing. They've been here all afternoon rehearsing their 2019 production. And speaking of the Bluecoats, Jeff, we can start out with some breaking news on the DCI News Network. We know what their show is.
We do, Dan. We had the opportunity through the DCI News Network and DCI's Field Pass just today to release and announce the 2019 show title for the Bluecoats show and the concept behind it. And it's called, drumroll please, The Bluecoats.
Which may catch some of you saying, come on, is that a lack of creativity? Couldn't they come up with anything better than The Bluecoats? But when you know the show concept, Jeff, it all makes sense.
You're right, it does. It absolutely does. The Bluecoats is kind of a direct reference to the show's repertoire, which is all selections from the Beatles. From what I understand, the show title is Bluecoats' way of referencing the Beatles' White Album, which came out 50 years ago. The album itself was officially named The Beatles. And in the same way, the Bluecoats is meant to kind of celebrate the Bluecoats' heritage and kind of hinges on the innovative spirit that they share with the Beatles themselves.
You can hear a detailed explanation of the 2019 Bluecoats production, The Bluecoats, more about the music and about all the thought that went into the show from the Bluecoats program coordinator, Dean Westman. We spent a lot of time talking about it last week, and we, at the exact same time Bluecoats were announcing their show, we were posting an audio and video podcast of my conversation with Dean Westman. And my suggestion is you can watch the video podcast, download that audio podcast, put it on your smart device, and listen to it on the way to the theater today to see the DCI Tour Premiere.
You know, Dan, if I wasn't here, I can tell you that's exactly what I'd be doing. To get excited, and I mean, we had the opportunity to see it, taste of it here today.
Yeah,
as
we got to see their rehearsal run-through. Holy cow, it's amazing.
It's really cool, and it's going to be worth checking out tonight, both here and in theaters. But like you said, it's been a busy day here, and it still is. If you can see behind us, you've got hundreds of student musicians and dancers taking part in DCI's educational outreach program, Kickstart.
Fran Kick, my buddy, is the one involved with Kickstart. About 10 minutes ago now, the gates opened here at Ford Field in Detroit for the tour premiere. 5th year in a row, if you can believe that we have been in the theaters for the tour premiere. We are on hundreds of screens across the country tonight for this DCI tour premiere. In all, some 35,000 Drum Corps fans are going to watch tonight's show either in person here at Ford Field or in the theaters, one of those hundreds of screens that we've talked about. You still have time to get your tickets right now and make it to the theater in time to see this exciting premiere live as it happens.
And like you said, we have those 30,000 some fans following along both in the theater and in person here at the stadium. I mean, we have several following along here with us on the DCI News Network. So between all of that, it's fair to say tens of thousands of people engaged in the DCI Tour Premiere. So exciting to have it all happening.
You know what else is exciting? The inaugural year of the DCI News Network. We began the DCI News Network's coverage back in January at the Drum Corps International Health, Wellness, and Safety Summit. Stories that you can still find right now at YouTube and at DCI.org. Interviews that focused on how we keep performers safe and how we keep them not only safe but well as these shows evolve and become faster, more sophisticated, and there's an element of danger.
Yeah, and the idea is that in-depth coverage you talked about that happened at first at the annual meetings will really carry over into this summer. I mean, the DCI News Network is going to be bringing you stories and features from behind the scenes, coverage you really can't get anywhere else. So it's pretty exciting, like you said, stories from on the road, live coverage at events. It's really going to be a nice deep dive into DCI from the backstage.
And we're just getting started right here at Ford Field. Hang tight. In just a moment, we're going to meet the newest face on the DCI Cinecast team. You'll meet her next, right here on the DCI News Network. Hey. Welcome back, Dan Potter and Jeff Griffith. We're live from the end zone here at Ford Field in Detroit for the DCI Tour Premiere, getting underway in just over an hour and a half.
Yeah, we're getting really close to kicking things off at 8:35 Eastern with Phantom Regiment, and you still have time to get to a theater near you. You can check out fathomevents.com for more info on what theaters near you are playing this highly anticipated event.
As I said before the break, there is a new face on the DCI Cinecast team. She is the Academy's program coordinator, Lindsay Vento. Lindsay Vento joining Steve Rondinero and Will Pitts as the broadcast on-camera hosts, with, of course, DCI Hall of Famer Dennis DeLucia providing the historical context to the program. Jeff, I've known Lindsay for several years now. She brings a certain electricity with her to anything she does. It's
Definitely
true at the Academy. It's true with the marching bands that she works with in the fall. It's true when she sings. I think she's going to bring that exact same kind of electricity to this new job on the DCI broadcast team. Jeff had a chance to talk with Lindsay Vento. Let's take a look.
We're one day away from the DCI Tour Premiere presented by DeMoulin, and I am with Lindsay Vento, who's joining our esteemed broadcast team in cinemas near you for the Tour Premiere. Lindsay, we're one day away from the season starting. What's excitement like? What's it been like working with this team in preparation for the event?
It's actually far surpassed my expectations. Steve Rondinero and Dennis DeLucia have been absolute pros to work with. So welcoming, so comforting. They coach me along. They tell me, think about this, don't think about this, let yourself be natural. So it's really been a really welcoming experience, which is important because this is really big shoes to fill.
And I'm sure you're excited about the season starting. Why should fans come to this event, following along online? Why should they be excited for DCI 2019?
2019, with all of the program information that I've been able to read and study, 2019 is going to be some of the most artistic and creative and innovative things that we've seen. Everything that I read is just mind-blowing, and I can't wait to see it. And it's been 10 months, right? We've been waiting for 10 months for this to come back, and all of our excitement, and we're charged and we're ready to go. Everything that I have read and studied and seen, that 2019 is going to be a fantastic summer that people don't want to miss. These kids are working really hard.
Yeah, I believe it. We're gearing up for the tour premiere. It's one day away, like I said. What's your nerve level like? How are you feeling going into this broadcast?
Honestly speak, it's terrifying. It's terrifying, absolutely terrifying. It's terrifying to be a part of such a historic broadcast, and for them to make a change, they don't make changes to that broadcast often, and so speaking of changes to the broadcast.
Terrifying? Terrifying, really?
Tell us about that, Steve.
This is the working relationship we have to deal with around here.
We've bonded already. She's fit right in
We're
with
just
this group. She's
freaking
gonna
awesome.
do fine. And if she doesn't, we'll just terrify her.
Thoughts?
No, you see, no, he's not wrong. He's great. No, they've been look at this. We hit it off right away. It's been extremely supportive. They've been supportive. It's going to be a great season all around. I'm ecstatic to be a part of it.
Well, you can tell we've got a great crew coming to you live from Detroit tomorrow. Well, I guess when people see this, it'll be tonight.
Yes.
We'll see you guys there. Enjoy.
I got to tell you, Lindsay Vento, she's a one-woman dynamo. I've never met anybody quite like her, and I can't wait to see how she contributes to that team.
Yeah,
It's going to be really good.
Yeah, she is a lot of fun, and it's going to be really exciting, like you said, to see her on the show tonight. Also exciting, and I'm sure a lot of fans here would agree with this sentiment, to see these shows. We have 6
Right.
great corps tonight, all of which finished in last year's top 12. I mean, top to bottom, starting with Phantom Regiment. They'll be performing a show called I Am Joan. It's really exciting from what I can tell. They're playing songs by 30 Seconds to Mars, Two Steps from Hell. Really cool show to kick off the show. And then Blue Stars will bring us a new feel for them. Call of the Wild is the title, based on the Jack London novel of the same name. We've got the Cadets doing a really empowering, really intriguing show called Behold.
You know what? I can't wait to announce that one from the sideline. Behold the Cadets.
Right, definitely, yeah. And that'll bring us halfway through the show. After that, we'll have Boston Crusaders. Their show is called Goliath. It's got a lot of cool music. My Shot from Hamilton, music from the Rocky films, so really exciting there. Carolina Crown last year took 4th place. They'll be showing us Beneath the Surface, a really intellectual show from them. And then lastly, as we mentioned earlier on the show, last year's bronze medalists, the Bluecoats, will bring us, quote, the Bluecoats, yeah.
In fact, we caught a little bit of Blue Stars in rehearsing their 2019 show Call of the Wild at Wayne, Michigan, outside of Detroit earlier this week. Check it out.
I'm really excited to show people how we've developed the show throughout these days in spring training, because we've added really cool moments, and I'm really excited to share that.
Everyone was really excited when they heard the show theme. It's just like such an easy concept to grab and really elevate, and I think that's really interesting. When we first saw the props, we got so excited. This is so unlike anything we've done before, and I just love it personally. It's awesome.
It's something that we've decided to take risks on, and it's something that we're doing stuff that people may not have done before in their shows, and I think we've waited so long for this moment just to perform for a really large crowd of people.
I think mostly it's just we're all ready to go. That movie theater audience is really hyping us up.
We just have this sort of energy every time that we're just ready to go out there and perform, and that we're ready to yell FCO before we head off onto the field and just do whatever we've done for the past 20-some days.
Part 4, the Avalanche, is really something special that I don't think anyone else has really done. It's our drum break, but in the meantime, the horn line is actually right by this prop right here, the mountain, and we're emulating the whole thing coming down on top of all the color guard. And it's really exciting.
My favorite part of the show is the ballad, just because it's a really cool ballad just in general. The source music is amazing, and also just the impact that you get is just, there's a lot of emotion in it. And also, I'm really excited to perform my solo in there too. But yeah, I think there's the most emotion into that one movement, and I'm really excited for people to hear it.
That is, I'm really stoked to see the show now, especially after seeing that giant mountain prop and just imagining it. You weren't at that rehearsal,
No.
neither were we. Had a camera person out there. I can't imagine how they're going to pull off that avalanche visual effect, but with that big mountain prop, it's going to be interesting to see them do that.
Yeah, I mean, they really took a step forward last year. I mean, they had so much going on in the field in their show last year, and they did really well. They got 8th place. Their horn line was phenomenal. So I'm really excited to see what Blue Stars do this year with such a unique and really exciting show concept.
They got some exposure here in Detroit today, too, didn't they?
They did. Blue Stars yesterday also had the opportunity to drum up some excitement at for the DCI Tour Premiere right here in Detroit. They took part in WXYZ TV's morning news show.
Yeah, it's kind of the publicity that DCI actually works to get in every market that we have a show in. We try to get publicity, TV, radio, newspaper to come out and cover the corps. But sometimes the corps attract media attention all by themselves just by being in town. For instance, Boston Crusaders in the past week were rehearsing in a town in Pennsylvania. The viewers to a local television station in this Pennsylvania town were so enamored with this really cool band rehearsing in their town that they called the TV station. TV station came out and did a little enterprise story on it, did a piece on them. It was very cool.
Well, Boston is one of those really cool bands you're talking about who are doing a lot with costuming, as we've seen. It's one of the hottest topics leading up to the start of this season. What are corps wearing? It's always so exciting now. As
that whole
every
uniform versus costume thing.
Right, and every year it seems a lot of these corps are bringing out something new, so it's a whole new layer to the whole show reveal idea in spring training. So many of these corps, like you said, going to the whole costuming idea. And in just a moment, we'll find out a little more about that trend and what goes into designing costumes for a modern drum corps show as our tour premiere pre-show continues after this break.
Be right back. Dan Potter back live at Ford Field in Detroit as we anticipate the step-off of the 2019 Drum Corps International season. As Jeff was saying before the break, there's been quite a bit of talk about uniforms versus costuming going into this season. If those are the two words you choose to use, I don't know. The corps have to wear something to perform, and anymore, what they're wearing is very thematic and very much geared toward the show that they're performing. So let's talk a little bit about what goes into those kinds of decisions, uniforms versus costuming, and what the corps' look is going to be. Darcy Ongst is program coordinator with the cadets. Hi, Darcy.
Hi.
And Steve Troll, is with DeMoulin Bros and Company, who is the uniform supplier to the cadets.
Thank you for having
us, Dan.
Well, we're glad to have you here. So let's go through this whole process. Does it start with the show concept and then the uniform grows out of that?
Yes. So when the design team met in September, we did an activity that was, what do we want to keep doing? What do we want to stop doing? And what do we want to start doing? And one of the things that we really wanted to keep was some of the tradition that goes with the cadets. We actually had pictures of as far back as we could go with the cadets. And so some of the things you see on the uniform this year is a tribute to the original cadet uniform.
Every corps tries to retain identity even when they go in new directions, right? So how did that figure when you knew that's what you wanted to do? What was the next step?
So, and I think I'll go back and answer your first question. I think when you costume, you can put different performers in different things that go with the show, say in theater. But I think when everybody's in the same thing, it becomes uniform, right? And
gotcha.
So the big debate, whether it's a uniform or a costume, I think it's both. But because everybody in the corps is wearing the same thing, it is uniform. So to throw back to that, we really considered the original designers, but we wanted to bring the corps, the alumni, the members now, and the original designers back together. So you'll notice some things on this year's uniform. The frogs and the braids are coming together over the heart of the performers.
I think do we have some pictures, Jeff, that we can show of this? And Steve, as we look at these, you then got contacted by Darcy, right? Who was your point of contact, and how does that work?
The way it started out is Joe Heiniger actually did the original design, and Joe is a very talented, very creative individual, and has worked with cadets for the past several years on this project. Joe had met with Darcy and with her staff of creative talent, and they came up with a concept. From that, we get an art rendering, and then we built a prototype.
An art rendering, or does it take several different sketches and art renderings?
We started with one, and it did have some modifications, but we built the first prototype from the first one.
Wow.
And then we made some color changes after that, and finally arrived at what we were all satisfied with, and which is what you will see tonight. And, I think the uniform has a historic element to it. But at the same time, as Darcy mentioned, there are the cadet features, as always, and it sort of is about the unity and togetherness that this corps is really representing today.
What are the trends that you're seeing, Steve, in uniform design? You know, are high school marching bands and college marching bands following that costuming trend, or is it different depending on the group?
College marching bands are a bit more traditional and have a very strong alumni following, so it's a little more difficult for them to incorporate as many costumed elements as a high school and certainly as drum corps. So we're seeing a lot of printed designs and a lot of more color added into the uniform through the result of printing, which we've been doing for a very long period of time. It is just now becoming a very popular feature for particularly high school uniforms. Drum corps is a bit different because now the costuming element has even more to do with this year's program and maybe only this year's program. I think that's fair, wouldn't you say, Darcy?
Correct.
The fabrics have changed too, haven't they?
Yes, they have. Fabrics today are much lighter in weight, and they have all kinds of performance properties to make the student able to move easier, cooler, more comfortable, very much like retail wear that you are seeing in retail stores today.
DeMoulin Brothers and Company is our title sponsor for this tour premiere and for this broadcast, as a matter of fact. Why is it important for DeMoulin to be involved in this way?
Dan, we feel like DCI and everything that it represents is exactly what our company wants to be a part of. We feel the same way about the cadets, and we have for decades. There are certain traditional values there and things that well represent the DeMoulin brand, and we're very happy to be here and be a part of everything that's going on this evening and all summer long.
Darcy, yeah.
We're very happy to partner with DeMoulin because of the quality. I mean, the jackets, he spoke about performance wear, but if you were able to touch and feel the 2019 cadets uniforms, they are quality uniforms.
Okay, well, let's talk about the show just a little bit. I was joking with Jeff Griffith. I can't wait as the stadium announcer to say, "Behold, the cadets."
That was the plan.
Well, good. Can you give us a little tease about what we're going to see and hear from the cadets?
I will. I just want to say two more things about the Corps uniform. You will notice there are 5 stripes on the knee pad. That represents the 5 decades of women in the Cadets Drum and Bugle Corps. And like I said, you'll notice the bringing together, but you'll notice gray pants, and
Yes.
that was the callback to that West Point. What the legend is that the original designers based the original Corps uniform on the West Point cadets.
Okay.
Yes.
So 2019, Behold.
Behold is really a story about the struggle for equality. Some people have described it as a female empowerment show. I do not think it's that. I think it is a story of equality. And when you say things like female empowerment, it doesn't get to the heart of being equal, right? It's not having power over somebody else. It's about reaching true equality, whether that's based on gender or race, and anything, right? Where that's the aim. And so the last song really, to me, sounds and will look like equality.
You know, it's no secret that the cadets have been through a couple of years of turmoil. Will you kind of give us an insight into the temperament and the tenor of the Corps right now? How does it feel?
It feels incredible. I have never met a more trusting, open-minded, hardworking, just kids who are persevering. You know, it's a big leap of faith when they signed on the dotted line to march here, and it's been incredible. I walk down the stands at rehearsal, and the kids are like, thank you for the show. I've never had so much fun doing a show before. We really tried to design a show that everyone in the Corps could connect to, because it is about equality. And you know, we tried to arc the story to match anyone who's ever been underestimated, underserved, kind of come up from a really difficult circumstance and power through and rise up
I can hear the emotion in your voice
Yeah,
as you
I'm
talk
getting
about
choked
this show.
up.
You are. You are.
The funny part is the rest of the staff said, "Don't cry."
She's not crying, but she's
But
getting
I'm
emotional.
close. I'm getting
It's
emotional.
passion is what it is.
Yeah.
Darcy, thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
And Steve, I appreciate it. Steve Troll with DeMoulin Brothers and Company, and Darcy Onks, program coordinator of the Cadets. We're live on the field, Ford Field in Detroit. The DCI 2019 Tour Premiere coming up. We'll have more in just a moment.
Blood, sweat, tears we put into this. It's adding up. That's why. All the pain we've been through, we charge it to the game. Nothing was the same now. All the blood we shed too, we charge it to the game. Yeah, charge it to the game. Look, all the work we put in, man, we charge it to the game. Yeah, charge it to the game. Yeah, all the tears you cried, mama, we charge it to the game. Now look how everything has changed.
All of those dates that you can see DCI shows this summer on Flow Marching. Let's go to flowmarching.com, see the full schedule, and subscribe today. Speaking of full schedules, the tour premiere is here tonight, but this is already a full weekend this weekend for Drum Corps International.
Yeah, it really is. I mean, we have 2, 3, 4 big shows this weekend. Here at Detroit obviously kicks it off. We've got DCI West in Stanford. That's always a great show. The Stanford show was a really exciting event. I mean, last year in Stanford, we saw Santa Clara Vanguard defeat the Blue Devils head-to-head for the first time in over a decade. And, I mean, those two are gold and silver medalists from last year. They're back there again. They've got the Cavaliers, who will be back in California for the first time in at least a decade.
But yeah, they haven't done a real tour since, 1997, I think we've determined was the last. Now, they've been in California. They performed there. Of course, we had championships in 2007 in the Rose Bowl, so they were there then. But for a early season tour, it's the first time Cabbies have been there since 97.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and we'll hear a little bit more about that in a little bit. But,
Yep.
I mean, joining those 3 corps in Stanford, there's so many great other corps. Mandarins, they were top 10 last year, had their best season in their history, their 55-year history. The Academy's there. Troopers are there. And then on Sunday, we've got DCI Crossroads, another great event where 3 of tonight's corps, Boston Crusaders, the Cadets, and Carolina Crown, will join Madison Scouts, Colts, and Crossmen in Zionsville, Indiana. And that wraps up the weekend, and then we're into it.
That's just one weekend. I love this. Okay, let's take a look. Cavaliers way out west for the start of the season.
Well, this will be the first time since 1997 that we've actually toured California. We were there in 2004 for the Tournament of Champions and then in 2007 for finals, but that was just a quick out and back.
So we're really excited to be going out to California. It's going to be a lot of fun. We haven't been out there in a while, and we've got quite a few members this year from California, and they're all excited to have the chance to perform at their home shows and everything.
I'm really excited because in the 4 years I've marched DCI so far, I have not been able to go to the West Coast, and that's actually where I'm from. I've never had a home show or been able to perform for my friends and family from home, and it just means a lot to be able to see them, be able to experience just a different tour than normal, and I don't know, California's cool.
We have a large alumni base out in California and a fan base out there. You know, since we don't go out there very often, I think it's kind of a treat for the West Coast fans to get to see a corps other than Santa Clara Blue Devils, Mandarins, and so forth. So whenever we've gone out, there's been a tremendous reception for the corps.
It's going to be a brand new experience for a lot of us. You know, a lot of guys who've never been to the West Coast, and it's going to be really, really cool seeing other corps, you know, seeing Blue Devils, Santa Clara. It's going to be really interesting competing with them, just seeing what kind of products they have, you know, early season, and just getting in there and, you know, being part of that conversation rather than waiting until they come over towards Texas and then finally getting a chance to see them.
I think that the thing I'm looking forward to the most this summer is being able to finally bring the activity that I love to my friends and family that have never seen me perform it live before. There's that weird fourth wall that you can't break when you're performing for them through theaters or through live streams or through recordings, but just being able to see them and know that they're there watching me and supporting me, it really means a lot that I can finally do this for them.
The Cavaliers 2019 show the wrong side of the tracks, and another huge prop there. Very curious about how they're going to use that.
Yeah, that show seems really cool. I mean, from what I've heard, they're one of the groups who are kind of taking some new setup into account with the new judge changes regarding judges going on the field. I know they're moving their pit back a little further to make a little more space there for the judge to be able to hear some more things.
Lots of new stuff, and okay, as long as we're going to talk new stuff, let's talk about those. We got some rules changes. The on-field judges really aren't going to be on the field that much anymore. They can go up to 6 feet, I believe, onto the field. So that's a little bit behind the pit, so to speak, or onto the field. Jeff, do we still have that graphic that it really explains exactly what's happening with the judging? But basically, the on-field judges are going to be confined to the perimeter of what's going on the field. So they're going to be interesting to see how they handle that. Other new stuff. New venues this year for shows. We're going to have a show in Memphis, Tennessee this year. Looking forward to that. Apogee Stadium, Denton, Texas, the University of North Texas, a fantastic stadium. I almost did a Bands of America regional there once, except it got rained out. But it is the sight lines are terrific there. The sound is terrific there. So I'm really looking forward to that North Texas show at the University of North Texas. And then Menominee, Wisconsin, which is the replacement for the Minnesota show. That should be very good. What else do we have? Let's take a look at tonight's lineup, because we've gone through it a little bit, but here's how it's going to play out. We have opened the gates already here at Ford Field. 8:25 Eastern Time is when we kick things off with our welcome and national anthem. Phantom Regiment takes the field with I Am Joan at 8:35 this evening, followed by the Blue Stars, Call of the Wild at 8:53. Behold the Cadets. We'll do that exactly at 9:11 this evening. Boston Crusaders, Goliath at 9:32. Carolina Crown with Beneath the Surface at 9:50. And we're wrapping things up with the Blue Coats at 10:08 tonight.
I'm still having to get used to saying the Blue Coats are playing the Blue Coats.
Right. I'll announce the scores at 10:26, and then you and I will be back here at 10:30 with a little post-show wrap-up. Sound good?
Yeah, we're going to talk scores, talk cores, just wrap things up.
Maybe talk to a winning drum major, something like that.
Should be fun.
Back here at 10:30, the DCI News Network. We're at Ford Field. You have time to get to your cinema if you're living near one. Check fathomevents.com. You'll find one near you. Go watch our tour premiere, and then we'll check with you afterward. Let's talk some more drum corps then. Until then, it's drum corps time in the Motor City.